Hello there. My name is Ben Tartaglia. I'm the host of Town Meeting Matters. Town Meeting Matters has two parts to it. One is it's all town meeting members that are on the panel, and they talk about things in general for the town that the town meeting should be involved with or wants to talk about, and also how it affects their own precincts. And we do this about once a month. And this is the April 10th, 2019 filming. For our guests we have today,
Bernie Forletta, not to be confused with the other Bernie, although we're the same age. I represent precinct number 1.
Brian.
This is Brian Moss. I'm a town meeting member in precinct 8. This is my second term as a town meeting member. Other people might know me as running a lot of environmental and health issues in town through the Sustainable Shrewsbury Citizens Network.
John G.
My name is John G. Ananth, and I'm a town meeting member from Precinct 10. I'm also a candidate for selectman in Shrewsbury, and most importantly, I am an advocate for Shrewsbury.
Thank you. Thank you. If you want to be on the show, we're always looking for people who don't mind being on camera. My phone number and my email address will be on the bottom of your screen. You'll reach me just about any time. My phones all go to voicemail after hours, and my after hours start usually around 11:30 or 12:30 in the evening. So call up and get on the show. And so we've got some interesting topics today, and I don't know how many of these we'll get to, but one is going to be about the historic preservation bylaw. One's going to be on, there's another article coming up on pesticides at town meeting. The stormwater tax, that I'd like to call it a tax anyway. And there's another article that I sponsored called, getting more opportunities for people to run for office. Electronic voting we're going to touch on, the water quality, and senior transportation. So we're all going to do that in about 25 minutes. So we got about 3 minutes per topic. Bernie, you want to tell us a little bit about the preservation article?
Yes, I'm serving with the committee that's submitted a petition article for Shrewsbury Historic Preservation Bylaw. The intent of the bylaw is to, as the title suggests, to preserve and protect the historic properties that we have in town that uniquely represent our own town's history and its culture. It's a systematic process to review historic houses when they come up for sale, and if there's a petition put in there to demolish the property, there's a process to go through to review that and evaluate that, to see if something can be worked out, working with the owners of the property to see if the property can somehow be saved and preserved. Mm-hmm. We're going to be working quite a bit over the next month leading up to town committee meeting, meeting with people to communicate who we are, what we're all about. We're having a meeting, for example, on April the 30th, an open meeting that we're inviting a number of the people, quite a number of them as a matter of fact, to attend the meeting who own historic properties in town, and basically to communicate with them, to let them know who we are, what the bylaw is all about, and to open it up for their questions and concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. You want to jump in here?
On the same topic?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, actually, what's interesting about this one is, I remember my first term at town meeting, this demolition bylaw had come up at town meeting as a citizen's petition, and I was ready to vote yes on it then. I remember being excited to have a vote on it. I saw it; it was interesting, a good topic that concerned citizens were getting involved in and pushing forward for this bylaw. So what I did was I ended up seeing, though, that it got pulled from that town meeting before it could get voted on. So I'm excited this next time.
John G?
Well, in my campaign, I have found that a lot of people in Shrewsbury are very concerned about preserving the nature and character of our town. And I have to commend you and your committee for teaching me a lot about the history of our town.
Well, thank you.
I had learned, quite interestingly, that General Nathan Howe's house, who was a general in the Revolutionary War, his house is here in Shrewsbury, and it was demolished, along with its history.
Well, there's a marker out there on Spring Street, next to Holman Street. Nathan Howell Sr., the elder, was out there plowing a field with his son, the junior Howell, when a rider came in from Concord saying, to arms, or something to that effect. And that was in response to the gunshots that were fired at Concord and Lexington. And they were looking for volunteers to come in. Well, the senior Nathan Howell organized a group, ended up throwing up fortifications on the Dorchester Heights. That made the British Army, which occupied Boston at the time, very untenable. You had General, I can't think of his last name now, who transported all of the cannon from Fort Ticonderoga to the Heights. And actually those cannons came right through on the Old Post Road on Main Street as they were being transported out to the Dorchester Heights.
Okay, I hate to cut you short, but we got 5 or 6 other things
Okay,
to do.
okay.
Appreciate that. And we
Thanks.
can always come back at the end.
Sure.
I try to end a little early so we can chat a little bit about everything. The pesticides article, can we do that in 2.5 minutes?
Sure,
Sure.
yeah. Sure, so I'm bringing this forward, a bylaw, actually a proposed bylaw, to reduce pesticide usage on town property. Now it does not include private property because that is controlled, pesticide restrictions are controlled at the state level, so we can't ban anything at the town level. We really don't have much of a say at the town level. But what's great about town meeting is that we can come in and say, well, that we can't ban anything. Why can't we set a direction, a more positive direction that others are setting around in towns and states around the country, which would be, why don't we have set a gold standard approach of doing organic first, and then use least toxic to most toxic strategy after that. So this is really what the bylaw is laying out is let's take the gold standard approach and do things that are safer and healthier for the community. Other communities have done it, like Wellesley, for many, many years successfully. So I'm putting this forward, and we'll talk more about that at town meeting.
Yeah. Any quick comments?
The gold standard is applied to what?
So instead of, there are different ways that people are trying to deal with this. In some states where they have control, they ban certain pesticides like glyphosate-based pesticides that's popularly known under the Monsanto brand of Roundup. Right, maybe everybody has that in the garage. Well, they've had, just this past year, they've had 2 landmark lawsuit in cases where they found that Monsanto was actually hiding the fact that they've known that it's caused cancer all these years. And the World Health Organization cancer arm of that organization declared in, I think it was 2015, that it's a probable human carcinogen. So, there's different ways that people are doing it, but really rather than kind of picking and choosing, we know that pesticides are biocides, or that they're meant to harm life, right? They're meant to kill pests, and whether they're weeds or pests, so they affect human health too. So the best way to do that is to try to turn that around and try to use a positive approach that's more healthy for the ecosystem. So you have to use less pesticides.
John, do you want to take a minute?
Of course, and that's a very good point you made. I should also add to that, as I mentioned in my campaign for the people, a lot of people are in fact, many people don't even know about the stormwater charge, but the pesticides are actually said to be running off into the stormwater drains and contaminating Lake Quinsigamond. And as a result of that, swimmers who use the lake are exposed to these contaminants. So it may, at least for the viewing public, it's important to recognize that pesticide use is not a benign thing, and it can wind up on your evening, on your weekend swim.
Thank you. All right, moving right along here. Pesticides. Stormwater will hold off on because that's my pet. I have a electronic voting. Just a quick thumbnail, couple minutes on it, please.
Sure. So last year, again, town meeting last year I brought forward a citizen's petition to look into electronic voting for town meeting, not for the overall town, just for town meeting itself. The main reason I had brought it forward was because there's 240 town meeting members that are all elected representatives, and they're voting on things in town, such as the things we're talking about tonight, as well as the big budget items of the town. So if town meeting is setting the kind of the, approving and setting direction for the town, I think it would be good for people to know how their town meeting members are voting so that they can become engaged with local government. So instead of just putting a petition in saying exactly how we would do electronic voting, which would be very difficult, what I did instead was say, let's form a committee that will review it over the next year. So thankfully, town meeting gave me a chance, and we formed the committee, and we've met over this past year, and we're going to be presenting a report at town meeting. So I'm thankful for town meeting support of that.
Yeah, I support electronic voting, and I always have. I think that it would smooth out the processes during the town meeting. I think it would save a lot of time. And most importantly, I think the vote, instead of having to do a stand-up vote and count, you know exactly what the vote is, you know it instantly, and you have a record of how people vote. And I'm very much in favor of that. Full transparency. And it would be nice to have that.
Great.
Someone coming in to object? Calling in to object?
I don't know. I don't even recognize it. We should have a call-in show, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I like electronic voting.
Yeah.
This is not a big thing to do. Somebody will come up with an app anyway.
Yeah.
We just gotta start looking for it. And maybe we should have a $100 reward for some high school student that can come up. This is not a technical problem. A Survey Monkey is one that anybody can use too. I mean, there's no reason not to do it. But someday people will get an
For
idea.
me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Water quality. Next item, you were the water quality guy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
All
You
right,
got
thank
about
you.
2.5 minutes.
I just wanted to take a moment to share with you all, and also you, that I am seeing, as I'm talking to people around the town, that the #1 issue in town for many people is the quality of our water. A lot of residents, and sadly senior residents, have to buy bottled water because they don't trust the quality of our water. I did meet with the head of our water department to learn more about the issue, and I applaud him for the efforts that he's made to research this issue and consult with other water departments in California, which is sets the gold standard on hexavalent chromium treatment. But as I'm talking to residents, it is clear that we must resolve this issue. And that is something that I would like you to know, that I am committed to resolving our water concerns.
Good. In fact, I talked to Bob, too, Tazetsky.
Yes, sir.
Very knowledgeable guy, very patient, because I'm a pain in the neck sometimes, trying to push and find out. And he's just so great. He'll be retiring, I think, in October. I think it's October. Pretty sure that's it.
Yeah,
We're losing a lot of our extremely knowledgeable people.
Yeah.
They
Go
have a
ahead.
lot of history from having been in the town for so long.
Yeah.
That's
The
very
water quality, this morning, they're going down 140 right now, cleaning out the,
sound flushing.
we get colored water in the toilets. And today, so I get up and I turn on the tub on the cold water and let it run for like 15 or 20 minutes. And this morning, when I shut it off, and there's residue all in the tub, blackish residue. And that's supposed to go away after a while. So I went on with the day, went back in there this afternoon, turned on just as bad.
Wow.
Now that's because they're blowing all the mains all the way down 140 from the center, down towards Route 9, I think, or Grafton. But it's really bad. You can't drink that. And they say it's fine. But I mean, you go to get your water out for your coffee in the morning, through a filter, through a filter, and it's brackish,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem. I don't know when that's going to get solved. It's always a year away. But I think Bob's doing the best he can. We'll see what happens on that. Senior transportation.
This one was my issue.
Oh, that was one of yours? Okay.
Yes. I am, a large part of my life, I was raised by my grandfather. Spent most of his time with me, and I have the highest respect for our seniors. And as I'm going around talking to our seniors, I'm learning that senior transportation is something that is one of their highest concerns. I learned that for many seniors who live in senior housing, they have to book the bus 2 days in advance in order to get transportation. And not only that, but it has to be done before 10 o'clock or 10:30 or some cutoff time. Otherwise, you've got to wait. The whole cycle, goes off by a day. And it's just an extremely regimented way to live. Now, they could take a taxi, but it costs $10 to go from Shrewsbury Tower to Santander Bank, according to one senior that I spoke to. And not only that, but the meter is running while the senior citizen is trying to make their way to the taxi. So you could that could add another $5 to your bill. So I not only feel that it is an undue burden on our seniors, both in terms of their quality of life and on their pocketbook, but also it could be hazardous to them and forcing them to have to rush to beat the meter. I found that story to be quite silly, and I hope that I can have the opportunity to work closely with our town to bring more transportation for our seniors.
I just have a couple of quick comments. That's one of the reasons I want to see the Beale School turned into Shrewsbury Housing Authority for the elderly, because that's the biggest problem. I've been to every one of their meetings. They have a monthly meeting. I've been to every one of the senior housing meetings. And that's the biggest problem. And the other thing you didn't mention, but one of the comments they made to me was that if they had a doctor's appointment, they had to be back before 3:30, because at 4 o'clock the vans get parked at the senior center. So I mean, they got a very narrow window to do anything. But the school, the Beale School, is on, guess what? Bus number 15's line. Public transportation goes right through there. And my argument for having that there is that I'll bet 60 seniors are going to get monthly bus passes. So the bus company's going to be happy as hell to get that, because their problem is they don't get enough traffic. Also, you're going to have those 60 seniors going around buying pizzas. They can walk most of the everyday needs that they have. It would be an economic engine, I believe, for downtown. There are plans for downtown. They want to maximize their taxes and all this kind of stuff.
They did a survey on that, soliciting recommendations as to what should be done with the Beale property. Have those been published yet, or do you know what they are?
I went to the meetings. The first one, the public hearing, was done at night. I think it was at 5 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night. Very few people showed up. And as far as seniors, maybe there was a couple of us that showed up. The survey they did, in my opinion, was terribly flawed. It was an awful survey. But the way it was written up was, this is what people want to do. One of the suggestions from the people that were there said, we want to have like little cafes down there and little walking trails. And we want to be able to go from one store to another. And I know from past experience with the selectmen, they've actually said they want to maximize their tax revenue. I look at that a little bit differently. I look at it as an economic engine type thing. You might not get as much taxes, but you're going to have these 60 people spending money, because seniors have money. And housing authority rents are not based on your assets. It's on your income. So even though somebody's only getting $1,200 a month in Social Security, they could have mucho bucks packed away. So I mean, I really don't think there was any. There wasn't a representative on the group studying the Beale reuse. But in my opinion, it was they weren't thinking too much about Shrewsbury Housing Authority locations. But the transportation is their biggest problem. they can't do anything before 10 o'clock in the morning, and they gotta be back parking the bus by 4. Gives you a very narrow window. And it's very expensive, $10, $20. Even in the Uber things, if they do that, that's pretty expensive, you know.
Where are the stops for the buses, or where do they take you?
Well, the senior buses?
Yes.
Well, those, you just make arrangements. You wanna go to, say you wanna go shopping at Stop and Shop.
So it's individualized then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yes. And they have vans that can take wheelchairs too. I mean, the vans themselves are fine, we just don't have enough of them.
Mhm.
And I've been at the senior center on Friday afternoons where they're calling people to tell them, you know, confirming we're gonna be there on Tuesday at 10 o'clock to take you so-and-so. They do that too. The public bus system, the WRTA, they've got public schedules. And they go from City Hall, they go up, they go through UMass complex, they come down, they go through the, I call it the Spags. What is it? It's not called Spags.
Lakeway?
Lakeway. They go down through Lakeway, and they go right up past the senior center. They go all the way up to Main Circle, up by beyond Dean Park. I mean, the seniors could go anywhere they wanted, and then coming back down, they stop all the places you want to stop at. So I just think it's a great idea. You know, I'm not getting a lot of support for that idea, but I still think it's eventually they're going to have to do something like that. Okay, I don't want. Okay, let's. Oh, I could talk forever on that one. Stormwater. They're going to set up a stormwater utility. It's one of the articles. They're going to take $1.8 million out of our tax money, and they're going to start it, and then they're going to be charging people starting at $9.50 a year. And you know, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in that staying there. But I had 4 things that people can do. First of all, I don't believe we even need the utility. I know we have to do the environmental things. I mean, I understand that. The question is, how do you fund it? One way is you take the money out of our real estate money and you give it to them for the first year, and then the fees are supposed to take care of that. But I don't think they have to do that. I have 4 things they could do. One is reduce. We have a $140 million budget this year. 1.3% of that would more than pay for the money they need for the whole year. That's one way to do it. Fair way across the line. Somebody told me that, but gee, that 1.3% for some departments, it's going to ruin them. They're going to have all kinds of problems. And I said, my attitude is I look at it as a top management person in a company. I got a problem in my company, and I need $1.8 million. If everybody reduces their budget by 1.3%, I think it's 1.3%, we don't have a problem. You know, and they say, well, what if they can't do it? You just tell them to do it. It's your departments. You tell your departments. When I had my multi-million-dollar budgets, my boss says, hey, Bill, we got to cut 5% off the budget this year. I didn't say, oh, my goodness, I can't do it. You know, you just do it, damn it. And my attitude is if a manager can't cut 1.3% out of his annual budget, he's not my manager anymore. It's a very easy thing to do, you know. If you run in a company and you know, you're making plastic bags.
Don't tell that to Brian.
Well, no.
He'll be out of business soon, Ben.
100% biodegradable bags. which,
How about reusable bags? That'll be better.
that's even better. I mean, you don't, only in municipal management do you find this attitude that, oh, we can't do that. Sure you can. It's just a matter of you deciding to do it. Of course, you know, anyway. And I've worked everywhere. I've worked in state agencies. I worked for Travelers with 30,000 employees. I worked with small firms with 100 people. This is not a problem anywhere else, apparently, but it is in Shrewsbury. And I just don't want to hear that. I mean, a good manager, you just don't do that. Second thing you could use is the turnback monies. I had a little research done by the town manager's office. And for the last 3 years, we've averaged over $2 million a year turned back, which is the money that was appropriated and not used. $2
Is that
million.
the free money they talk about at the town meetings?
Yeah, they call it
Free money or
free
something? like-
cash.
Yeah.
It's free, they put it in the free cash. Because once it's in free cash, you don't have to go to town meeting to get it approved. They can spend it any way they want. It's actually free cash. But there's $2 million a year that's come back for the last 3 years. And ironically, the school committee has never turned back any money. They always seem to spend all they have. You know, but we got $2 million sitting there. Now they're going to spend that on something this year, but every year there's $2 million. The third item you could do is use free cash. So you got 1.3 reduction, the turn back money, free cash, or the right way to do it, because it's all up, it's almost 75% operational cash for the utility, is a Proposition 2.5 operational override. And we actually got at least one selectman that says, yeah, you could do it that way. So you don't need the utility at all to do what's required by law as far as the environment is concerned. And anybody that tells you that you have to do it that way is wrong. But I'll tell you what the interesting point is here. Once you take an operation out of the general fund from our real estate taxes, they're going to take everything that's associated with this water utility. That includes the people, their benefits, their retirement, their health care, everything associated with managing that utility. And it's going to be like off budget. It's going to be perpetuated through those taxes that we're going to get every, I guess they're going to start collecting them monthly. But you know, that would keep it running. But you don't need to. All you have to do is just say, all the selectmen have to do, all 3 selectmen have to do, not 5, 3 could say, we're not going to do this. We're going to fund it the other way. We're going to, or you could use a combination if you don't have it. But I maintain there is no reason to have that utility. What it's going to do is it's going to free up $1.8 million in the second year for the town to spend it any way they want, and 70% of that is going to go toward the schools, because that's what we're spending. 70 cents on a dollar goes to the schools. And I'm not anti-education. I love education. I think the teachers do a great job. But at some point, we're going to have to say, hey, you know, this is killing us. And I know from being involved with the selectmen a lot, that there is no appetite in town for an operational override. So they have to find a substitute. This utility is going to be a substitute.
May I?
Certainly.
Okay, since we only had 50 seconds left, so I just wanted
Oh,
to
is it only
jump
51?
in
I
before
didn't
we
even see
finish.
it. I'm sorry. I apologize for
Before
that.
we go, I just wanted to add something.
Sure.
Since I am engaged in a campaign for the people. The people's priorities, as I found them, are clean water, less overdevelopment, ending school overcrowding, bullying, and drug use, and senior transportation, among many others. I'm committed to addressing your issues, and I hope you will vote on May 7th.
All right. Well, I want to thank our panel, Bernie,
thank you.
Brian,
Thanks.
John G. We'll be back again next month. We're down to like 17 seconds. Now, I want to remind you that we are going to be live even after we run out of time for a while. So you got to behave yourselves.
Okay.
Okay, I tell everybody that. We're down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good night.